couple months ago. These are people who believe climate change is happening, human-caused, a serious and urgent problem. They're taking action already in their lives, but they're really hungry to know what else can I do and what else can we do collectively. And they don't know. Okay? They don't know what the solutions are. Then comes a group we call the concerned. These are people who, again, think it's happening, human-caused, serious, but distant. Again, that the impacts won't be felt for a generation or more, so they feel like, well, we can put this one on the back burner. We've got other things that we need to worry about that are more pressing. Then comes a group we call the cautious. These are, you might think of as fence sitters. Not really sure, is it happening or not? Is it human-caused or natural? Is it a risk or not? They're paying attention but haven't really made up their mind. Then comes a very interesting group we call the disengaged. These are people who've heard the term global warming, but they know nothing about it. They know nothing about the causes, the consequences, or solutions. So really, it's lack of basic awareness that is the primary barrier keeping them from becoming more engaged. Then comes a group we call the doubtful. These are people who think, I don't think it's really happening, but if it is, it's natural. It's nothing we can do anything about. Therefore, I don't worry about it very much, and they don't see it as much of a risk. And then last but not least is a group we call the dismissive. And these are people who are firmly convinced it's not happening, certainly not human-caused, and in fact, a healthy proportion of them are what I lovingly call conspiracy theorists, who say it's scientists making up data, this is a UN plot to take away American sovereignty, this is socialism, et cetera, et cetera. And what really animates people in both the doubtful and the dismissive category, and this has also been very clear in our work, is values. Values are one of the primary ways by which people interpret this problem, okay? And what really motivates much of the hostility to climate science isn't really about the science, okay? What really motivates and animates much of that hostility is their fear of the policy solutions. Because what really marks the people on the right end of this spectrum is they have a deeply individualistic worldview. They're anti-government, anti-regulation, anti-tax. This is a kind of a libertarian viewpoint. This is a very now Tea Party type viewpoint. And what they see is that if we accept climate change as a real problem, we're going to have to accept that there needs to be government role in solving it. And that's not okay. Okay? So that really undergirds a lot of their hostility. I have much more to say about how we interact with each of these, because these are all separate audiences that need to be engaged on their own terms. One of the first and most important rules of effective communication is know your audience and meet them where they are. And there's a lot we can do to do a better job of that and start moving people up this ladder of engagement. We've asked people, if you could ask an expert on global warming one question, what would you ask? Essentially, what these groups on the far right want to know is, how do you know that global warming is even happening? Or human-caused? And on a deeper level, why should we trust you? Because they don't trust climate scientists. Whereas these groups in the middle are saying, okay, so maybe it's happening, but so what? Why should I care? Really, why should I care? Whereas these groups on the far left of the spectrum, they say, yeah, it's happening, it's human-caused, but what do we do? And increasingly, and is it too late? Okay? So these are three very different conversations that are taking place in this society as we speak. How does that play out into support for climate and energy policies? Well, in one way, they should line up just like you would expect, regulating CO2 as a pollutant, a national portfolio standard. The alarmed overwhelmingly support it, the dismissive overwhelmingly against, because again, it smacks of more government interference. But when it comes to investment, a major national investment in clean energy research, or in providing subsidies for homeowners to buy more fuel-efficient vehicles or solar panels, everybody likes those ideas. And that's really important. There are many roads to Damascus. Around clean energy, the alarmed and concerned support that because they care about climate change. The doubtful and dismissive don't believe in climate change. But for them, it's a way of dealing with our dependence and the fact that we're not self-reliant, and we're so, again, vulnerable to the whims of other countries, many of which, by the way, aren't exactly the most freedom-loving. So to summarize, public opinion we've seen some remarkable declines, though some slight bounce backs on a few items, and that's certainly changed the national political climate. Political support does remain high for clean energy policies. There are these 6 different Americas, and we need to be thinking in a much more sophisticated and nuanced way about how to communicate with each of them. I would argue that major climate policy is not likely until there's a strong and powerful and diverse, issue public, mobilized and demanding change, but at the same time, the silent majority of the public that has given their silent permission to their elected officials to act, that say, I will not punish you at the ballot box for taking strong action. And then last is just the point that I think as a community, we need to stop just playing checkers. I think that we tend to focus on the board as it exists right now and fighting the battle that happens to be right in front of our nose. And I think we need to be much more long-term and strategic in thinking about how do we shape the board, how do we tilt the board so that 4, 5, 10 moves ahead, we've already won. Okay? Because we're going to be coming back to this issue time and time again over decades. And with that, thank you very much.